The river had a way of keeping secrets. For centuries, its currents had whispered tales of Atlanta, from the bustling commerce of its banks to the quiet lives lived along its shores. But on a crisp autumn morning, the Chattahoochee revealed a secret it could no longer hold. A secret that would ripple through the heart of a community, leaving behind a chilling question. How well do we truly know the people we invite into our lives, especially those we meet in the digital shadows? It was just after dawn when a lone fisherman, casting his line into the cool, murky depths, noticed something. Not a snag, not a log, but an unnatural stillness beneath the surface, a shape that defied the river's natural flow. What he pulled from the water, or rather, what the police divers later retrieved, was not a fish, but the remains of a woman. Her identity was quickly established: Sarah Jenkins, a name that, until that moment, had been synonymous with quiet resilience, single-parent strength, and a hopeful, if sometimes naive, heart. The news spread like wildfire through Atlanta's close-knit African-American neighborhoods. Sarah Jenkins, missing for 6 weeks. Now found. The river had given her back, but it offered no answers, only more questions. Who would want to harm Sarah? A woman who seemed to embody the very spirit of perseverance. If you are finding this story gripping, please take a moment to hit that like button. Your support helps us bring more untold stories to light. And do not forget to subscribe and ring the notification bell so you do not miss our next deep dive into the shadows of crime. We encourage you to share your thoughts in the comments below as we unravel this complex web of deceit. Sarah Jenkins lived a life that many in her community admired. A single mother in her late 30s, she worked tirelessly as a paralegal at a downtown law firm, balancing long hours with the demands of raising her 10-year-old son Jamal. Their small but cozy bungalow in southwest Atlanta was a testament to her dedication. Neat, filled with laughter, and always smelling faintly of her homemade sweet potato pie. Sarah was not flashy, not seeking the spotlight. Her world revolved around Jamal, her church, and the quiet comfort of her routines. Her best friend, Keisha, a no-nonsense beautician with a heart of gold, often teased Sarah about her relentless optimism. "Girl, you need to find some joy outside of those legal briefs and Jamal's soccer games," Keisha would say, playfully nudging her. Sarah would just smile, her eyes crinkling at the corners. She believed in love, in partnership, even after a string of disappointments. She craved a connection, a shared future. A father figure for Jamal. Picture Sarah on her laptop, scrolling through a dating profile. The screen shows a handsome man, Michael Adebayo, with a warm smile, soft, hopeful music. It was this yearning that led her to the digital world. Online dating, a realm of curated profiles and carefully chosen words. Sarah, ever cautious, had dipped her toes in before only to retreat. But then, she saw his profile, Michael Adebayo. His picture showed a man with kind eyes and a gentle smile. His profile spoke of a life in Lagos, Nigeria, of a successful import-export business, and a deep desire for family and a loving partner. He wrote with an eloquence that captivated her, painting vivid pictures of his culture, his aspirations. Text messages appeared on screen, showing their conversation evolving from formal to intimate. Sarah's face, illuminated by the screen, showing a mix of fascination and caution. Their conversations began slowly, then blossomed into daily exchanges. He was attentive, patient, and seemed genuinely interested in her life, in Jamal's achievements. He spoke of God, of faith, of building a future rooted in shared values. He understood her struggles, he celebrated her small victories. He was everything she felt she needed, everything she had dreamed of. He was, in her mind, a man of substance, a man of God. Sarah on phone, voice soft, almost a whisper. He gets it, Keisha. He talks about family, about faith. It is like he is reading my mind. Keisha, voice firm, but gentle. Girl, you know how these online things go. Pictures can be deceiving. Words can be empty. You need to be careful. Sarah, I am careful. But this feels different. He is so genuine. He wants to come here, to build a life. Keisha, and what about Jamal? Has he asked about Jamal? Sarah, oh, he asks about Jamal all the time. He says he wants to be a father to him, a real father. He even sent Jamal a soccer jersey. Sarah's heart, long guarded, began to open. Michael was not just a profile picture, he was becoming a promise. A promise of a future where she was not alone. Where Jamal had a strong male figure, where their small bungalow would finally feel complete. The distance, the cultural differences, they all seemed like minor hurdles compared to the potential for true happiness. She started to believe in the dream he painted, a dream of a new beginning, right here in Atlanta. Now picture this at the airport, bustling with people. Sarah, dressed nicely, holding a small bouquet of flowers, looking anxious and excited. Jamal stands beside her, looking curious. The day Michael Adebayo was scheduled to arrive was a whirlwind of anticipation. Sarah had taken the day off, her stomach fluttering with a mix of nerves and exhilaration. Jamal, usually reserved, was buzzing with a child's innocent excitement. They stood by the arrivals gate, scanning faces, each passing minute stretching into an eternity. Michael emerges, tall, charismatic, with a broad smile. He embraces Sarah warmly, then kneels to greet Jamal. The scene is picture perfect, almost too perfect. Then he appeared, taller than his pictures, with an even more captivating smile. He moved with an easy grace, his eyes locking onto Sarah's. Their embrace was tender, a silent acknowledgement of the months of online connection. He knelt to Jamal's level, speaking to him softly, making the boy laugh. To Sarah, it felt like a scene from a movie, the perfect beginning to their new chapter. Michael voiced smooth, charming Sarah. "My love, it is even more wonderful to see you in person. And Jamal, you are a fine young man." Sarah beaming, "Michael, you are finally here. I cannot believe it." Jamal with a shy voice, "Hi." Michael, "Hello Jamal. I brought you something special from Nigeria." Michael pulls out a small, intricately carved wooden animal for Jamal. Jamal's eyes widened in delight. Within days, Michael had seamlessly integrated himself into Sarah's life. He was charming to her friends, respectful to her elders, and surprisingly good with Jamal, helping him with homework and even teaching him a few basic soccer moves. He spoke of his business in Lagos, his family, his desire to establish a branch of his import-export company in Atlanta. He was everything he had promised to be, and more. Now picture beautiful wedding photos. Sarah in a simple but elegant white dress, Michael in a sharp suit. They are smiling, happy. The ceremony is small, intimate, with only a few close friends and family. 6 weeks later, they were married. A quiet ceremony at the local courthouse, followed by a small reception at Sarah's home. Keisha, ever the pragmatist, had voiced her concerns about the speed of it all. Keisha's whispering to Sarah at the reception, "Are you sure about this girl? It is all happening so fast." Sarah eyes sparkling, "I have never been more sure of anything in my life, Keisha. He is the one. I feel it in my soul. He is everything I have prayed for." "Keisha, I just want you to be happy." Sarah, "Truly happy." Sarah, I truly am." Michael raises a glass, toasting Sarah. He looks genuinely happy, but a flicker of something unreadable crosses his face for a split second. The community celebrated with them, albeit with a touch of cautious optimism. Sarah deserved happiness, they all agreed. And Michael, with his polite demeanor and seemingly genuine affection for Sarah and Jamal, appeared to be a good man. The green card process was initiated, a necessary step for their future together. Sarah felt a profound sense of peace. Her life, finally, was complete. Little did she know, this beautiful facade was about to crumble, revealing a darkness she could never have imagined. Sarah's home, a few weeks after the wedding. The atmosphere is subtly different, a lingering quiet, an absence. Jamal is looking forlorn. The initial euphoria of the wedding slowly began to fade, replaced by a new, unsettling quiet. Michael, who had been so attentive, so present, started to become less so. He would leave early, return late, offering vague explanations about business meetings, about setting up his new venture. Sarah, ever understanding, tried to be patient. She attributed it to the pressures of starting a new life in a new country. Sarah's on phone, voice strained. He is just so busy, Keisha. I barely see him these days. He says he is working on something big. Keisha, big enough to ignore his new wife. That does not sound right, Sarah. You need to talk to him. Sarah, I try, but he just says I need to trust him. That it is for our future. Sarah looked at her phone, a worried expression. Michael's phone rings, she answers, but his voice is distant, preoccupied. A subtle shift in his demeanor began to emerge. The charming smiles became less frequent, replaced by a guardedness in his eyes. He would sometimes snap at Jamal for minor things, then quickly apologize. Blaming stress, Sarah felt a growing unease, a cold knot forming in her stomach. The dream she had built was starting to feel fragile. Then, one Tuesday morning, Sarah Jenkins simply vanished. Jamal wakes up, calling for his mom. The house is empty. He checks her room, the bathroom. His face registers confusion, then fear. Sound of a child's quiet sobs. Jamal woke to an empty house. His mother's side of the bed was untouched. Her car was still in the driveway, her purse, her phone all gone. He called out for her, his small voice echoing in the sudden silence. Panic began to set in. He called Keisha, his voice trembling. Jamal crying, Auntie Keisha. Mom is gone, she is not here. Keisha, voice sharp with concern, gone? What do you mean gone? Is Michael there? Jamal, no. He is gone too. Keisha arrives at Sarah's house, her face etched with worry. She tries to call Sarah, then Michael, repeatedly. Only voicemails. Keisha rushed over, her heart pounding. The house was orderly, no signs of struggle. It was as if Sarah had simply walked out the door and disappeared into thin air. Michael's belongings were also gone. A chilling realization began to dawn on Keisha. This was not just a misunderstanding. This was something far more sinister. Police cars arriving at Sarah's house. Detective Marcus Thorne, a seasoned officer with a tired but determined gaze, steps out. He surveys the scene. The police were called. Detective Marcus Thorne, a man who had seen too much of Atlanta's underbelly, took the case. His initial assessment was grim. A newly married woman, her new husband also gone. The green card motive immediately surfaced. It was a story he had heard before, a tale as old as time, but one that always ended in heartbreak. Detective Thorne's face, thoughtful, analytical. He picked up a framed photo of Sarah and Michael from the mantelpiece, studying it. He began the tedious work of interviewing neighbors, friends, and family. Everyone spoke of Sarah's kindness, her trusting nature. Everyone spoke of Michael's charm, his sudden appearance, his even more sudden disappearance. The pieces were starting to form a disturbing picture. A picture of a woman who had opened her heart and perhaps paid the ultimate price for it. If you are finding this narrative compelling, please consider giving us a thumbs up. It truly helps our channel grow. And if you have not already, hit that subscribe button and join our community of true crime enthusiasts. We value your insights, so please leave your theories and comments below. Detective Thorne in his office, surrounded by whiteboards covered with notes, photos, and timelines. The atmosphere is tense, focused, the sound of typing, phone ringing. The search for Michael Adebayo began in earnest. Detective Thorne and his team delved into Sarah's digital life, tracing her online interactions, her emails, her phone records. The digital breadcrumbs led them straight to the man she had married. But finding him was proving to be far more difficult than identifying him. Surveillance footage from Hartsfield, Jackson Atlanta International Airport. Michael Adebayo, dressed in nondescript clothing, moving quickly through the terminal. He looks over his shoulder once. A fleeting moment of anxiety. The first major break came from airport surveillance footage. A grainy but unmistakable image of Michael Adebayo. Just hours after Sarah's disappearance at Hartsfield, Jackson Atlanta International Airport. He was alone, carrying a single piece of luggage, moving with a purpose. Further investigation confirmed it a one-way ticket to Lagos, Nigeria, purchased with cash. Detective Thorne to his partner. Detective Miller, he booked it just hours before she vanished. Cash, one way. Classic, Detective Miller, so the green card scam. He got what he wanted, then he took her out. Detective Thorne looks that way. But why the body? Most of these guys just vanish. They do not leave a body. That is messy. Thorne looked at the airport footage, zooming in on Michael's face. He notices something subtle, a slight tremor in Michael's hand, or a fleeting, uncharacteristic expression. The evidence pointed to a clear motive: the green card. Michael Adebayo, a man who had charmed his way into Sarah's life, married her, and then, presumably, disposed of her once his objective was met. It was a familiar pattern, a tragic narrative of exploitation. The assumption was that he had fled back to his home country, disappearing into the vastness of a different continent, beyond the reach of American law. Picture Keisha and Jamal at Sarah's home, looking through old photo albums. Keisha is trying to be strong for Jamal, but her eyes are filled with unshed tears. For Sarah's family and friends, the news was devastating, yet strangely confirming of their deepest fears. Keisha had always harbored doubts about the whirlwind romance, the speed of the marriage. Now her worst suspicions were confirmed. Keisha to Jamal, her voice thick with emotion: "Your mom. She just wanted to be loved, baby. She just wanted a family." Jamal's quietly, looking at a photo of Sarah and Michael. "He seemed so nice. He played soccer with me." "Keisha, I know, baby. Some people, they wear masks." The story dominated local news, sparking outrage and sorrow within the African American community. Discussions erupted in barbershops, beauty salons, and church gatherings. It was a cautionary tale, a painful reminder of the vulnerabilities that come with seeking connection in an increasingly digital world. Many shared their own stories of online encounters, some harmless, others with unsettling undertones. The collective grief for Sarah was palpable, intertwined with a simmering anger at the man who had seemingly betrayed her trust so profoundly. Detective Thorne, looking at a map of Atlanta, specifically the area where Sarah's body was found. He circles something on the map, a detail that seems out of place. Despite the seemingly open and shut case, Detective Thorne felt a nagging unease. The body, why leave it? It was too risky for a simple scammer. And something about Michael's demeanor in the airport footage, a subtle hesitation, a glance over his shoulder that seemed less like a triumphant escape and more like a desperate flight. Thorne had a gut feeling, a whisper of intuition that told him there was more to this story than met the eye. The river had given up Sarah's body, but it still held the full truth of her demise, and Thorne was determined to uncover it. Detective Thorne reviewing Sarah's financial records. He notices small, unusual transactions, the sound of a printer humming. Detective Thorne was a man who trusted his gut, but he trusted evidence more. While the prevailing theory pointed to Michael Adebayo as the killer who fled to Nigeria, Thorne could not shake the feeling that something was off. He started digging deeper, looking for anomalies, for anything that did not fit the neat narrative of a green card scam gone fatally wrong. Close up on a bank statement. A series of small, recurring withdrawals from Sarah's account made from different ATMs around Atlanta, even after Michael's supposed departure. The amounts are small, but consistent. His team began a meticulous review of Sarah's financial records. And there it was. A series of small, recurring withdrawals from her bank account made after Michael Adebayo's supposed flight to Nigeria. The amounts were not large enough to trigger immediate alarms, but they were consistent, almost like a regular payment. And they were made from various ATMs across different parts of Atlanta, not just near Sarah's home. This was not the behavior of a man who had vanished across an ocean. Detective Thorne, holding up the bank statement, "Look at this, Miller. These withdrawals. They are happening after he supposedly left, and they are all over the city." Detective Miller, "So, he never left, or he came back, Detective Thorne, or someone else is using her card. But why these small amounts? And why not drain the account? It does not make sense for a killer on the run." Thorne and Miller at one of the ATM locations, reviewing surveillance footage from a nearby store. They see a figure, heavily disguised, making a withdrawal. The ATM withdrawals led them to grainy surveillance footage. The figure making the withdrawals was always heavily disguised, a baseball cap pulled low, large sunglasses, a scarf obscuring the lower face. It was impossible to identify the person, but the physical build did not match Michael's. This was a new layer of complexity, a new player in Sarah's tragic story. Thorne interviews Sarah's colleagues at the law firm. They speak of Sarah's recent stress, her occasional distraction. Thorne also interviewed Sarah's colleagues at the law firm. They spoke of Sarah being increasingly distracted in the weeks leading up to her disappearance. She had been quieter, more withdrawn, sometimes lost in thought. One colleague mentioned Sarah had been spending an unusual amount of time on her personal laptop during lunch breaks, looking at what appeared to be legal documents. Though she was a paralegal, not an attorney. Colleague, she was not herself detective. Usually Sarah was so focused, but lately she seemed troubled, like she had something heavy on her mind. Tiarni, did she mention anything specific? Any problems? Colleague, just that she was dealing with something complicated. Something about a family matter. She was always very private. Thorne, looking at Sarah's personal laptop, which had been recovered from her home. He sees a browser history showing searches related to immigration fraud, identity theft, and international scams. The most significant clue came from Sarah's personal laptop, which had been overlooked in the initial sweep, assumed to be irrelevant. Her browser history revealed a flurry of recent searches. Marriage scams, identity theft, Nigeria, human trafficking rings. She had also visited numerous forums where victims of online romance scams shared their stories. Sarah had been investigating something directly related to her new husband. It became clear Sarah had discovered the truth about Michael Adebayo, or, at least, she had discovered that the man she married was not who he claimed to be. The green card was a cover, but for what? And if she knew, why was her body found in the river? And why were these strange withdrawals still happening? The simple green card scam theory was collapsing, replaced by a far more intricate and chilling conspiracy. The river had given up its secret, but the story was far from over. Detective Thorne and Miller in a dimly lit internet cafe, looking at a computer screen. They are tracing the IP addresses of the forum posts Sarah had visited. The online forums became a crucial new avenue of investigation. Sarah had been desperate for answers, and she had found a community of others who had been similarly deceived. One particular forum, dedicated to exposing international romance and identity theft rings, caught Thorne's eye. Sarah had been particularly active on it in her final days. A specific post on the forum, written by someone named Truthseeker77. The post details a similar scam, involving a Nigerian man whose identity was stolen and used by an impostor to enter the US. The post includes a blurred photo of the real Michael Adebayo. Among the many posts, one stood out. It was from a user named Truthseeker77, detailing a scam eerily similar to Sarah's experience. A Nigerian man, a genuine individual, had his identity stolen. His name, his photos, his background, all used by an impostor to lure unsuspecting women. The post even included a blurred photograph of the real Michael Adebayo, a man who looked strikingly similar to the one Sarah had married, but with subtle differences in expression in the eyes. Detective Thorne, this is it, Miller. This is what Sarah found. She realized the man she married was not Michael Adebayo. Detective Millard, so, who is he? And where is the real Michael? Detective Thorne. Truthseeker77 might know. Let us see if we can trace this user. Thorne and Miller tracking down Truthseeker77. They arrive at a modest apartment building. A man opens the door, looking wary. Tracing Truthseeker77 led them to a quiet suburb of Houston, Texas. The man who answered the door was indeed Michael Adebayo. Not the charismatic charmer Sarah had married, but a soft-spoken, wary man in his early 40s, his eyes holding a deep sadness. He was shocked, then heartbroken. Terrell Michael Adebayo, voice trembling. Sarah. Dead? No. This cannot be. She was a good woman. Detective Thorne, Mr. Adebayo, we believe the man Sarah married was an impostor using your identity. Can you tell us what you know? My passport, my university records, my business documents, all stolen. I reported it to the police in Lagos, but nothing. Then I started seeing my face, my name on these dating sites. Women contacting me, angry, heartbroken. I tried to warn them. I made that forum post. The real Michael Adebayo revealed a harrowing story of his own. His identity had been stolen years prior by a sophisticated criminal network. They used his legitimate background, his genuine photos, to create convincing online personas, preying on vulnerable individuals seeking love and connection. He had tried to fight it, but the network was vast, elusive. He had become a ghost in his own life, his name tainted by the actions of an unknown impostor. Thorne showed the real Michael Adebayo the blurred photo from the forum, then a clear photo of the impostor. The real Michael's face shows recognition. Then Angata. He confirmed that the man Sarah married was indeed the impostor, though he did not know his true name or whereabouts. He knew the impostor was part of a larger operation, but he had no direct contact with them. He was merely a victim, much like Sarah. The revelation shifted the entire focus of the investigation. Sarah was not just a victim of a green card scam. She was a victim of a far more sinister identity theft and potentially human trafficking ring. And the man who had vanished to Nigeria was not the killer, but a ghost. The real killer was still out there, somewhere in Atlanta, hiding in plain sight. If you are finding this unexpected twist as shocking as we did, please hit that like button to show your support. Your engagement helps us continue to produce in-depth true crime content. Do not forget to subscribe and turn on notifications to stay updated. And as always, we invite you to share your thoughts and theories in the comments section below. Detective Thorne and Miller back in Atlanta, reviewing the new information. They are connecting the dots between the ATM withdrawals, Sarah's research, and the real Michael Adebayo's testimony. With the identity of the impostor confirmed, the investigation pivoted. The man Sarah married, the man who had vanished, was not Michael Adebayo. He was an unknown actor in a larger, more complex play. The ATM withdrawals, the disguised figure, it all started to make terrifying sense. The impostor had not fled to Nigeria. He had gone underground, right here in Atlanta, continuing to access Sarah's funds, perhaps as a desperate measure or as part of a larger scheme. Thorne and Miller interviewing Sarah's closest friends again, asking about any new acquaintances Sarah might have made, any unusual behavior from Michael, the impostor that they might have dismissed at the time. The Thorne revisited Sarah's life, looking for any connections the impostor might have made, any loose ends. He re-interviewed Sarah's friends, pushing them for details they might have overlooked. Keisha recalled a few instances where Michael had seemed overly interested in Sarah's financial affairs or had subtly tried to isolate her from her usual social circle. Keisha, he always had an excuse. Oh, I need to focus on my business. Sarah and I need our alone time. I thought it was just him being a new husband, but looking back, it was like he was trying to cut her off. Detective Thorne, did he ever mention anyone else he knew in Atlanta? Any friends, business associates? Keisha, he was always vague. Said he was building his network, but I never saw him with anyone else. Thorne and Miller traced the ATM withdrawals more aggressively. They used facial recognition software on the blurred surveillance footage, trying to enhance the image of the disguised figure. The ATM withdrawals became the key. Thorne assigned a dedicated team to track every single transaction, every piece of surveillance footage, no matter how obscure. They used advanced facial recognition software, attempting to unmask the disguised figure. Slowly, painstakingly, a pattern began to emerge. The withdrawals were always made in areas with heavy foot traffic, near bus stops or train stations, suggesting the person was relying on public transport, trying to blend in. Picture a map of Atlanta with pins marking the ATM locations. The pins form a loose cluster in a specific part of the city, an area known for its transient population and hidden networks. The cluster of ATM locations pointed to a specific part of Atlanta, an area known for its transient population, its hidden networks, its shadows. It was a place where people could disappear, where identities could be shed and new ones adopted with relative ease. This was where the impostor was hiding. Thorne and Miller stake out one of the ATM locations. They wait patiently. A figure matching the disguised description approaches the ATM. They move in. After days of relentless surveillance, they got a hit. At a small, nondescript ATM in a bustling strip mall, the disguised figure appeared. Thorne and Miller moved in, swift and silent. They apprehended the individual, pulling off the hat and sunglasses. It was him, the impostor, but he was not the confident, charming man Sarah had married. He was gaunt, his eyes filled with fear, his clothes disheveled. Detective Thorne holding the impostor by the arm. "Who are you? Where is Sarah Jenkins?" Imposter voice raspy, terrified. I do not know. I swear they told me to go. They told me she was gone." Detective Miller, "Who told you? Who are they?" Imposter, "The boss. Hey, he runs everything. He said if I did not do what he said, my family would go back home, they would suffer." The impostor, now identified as Daniel, being interrogated. He is clearly terrified but slowly under pressure. He begins to reveal details about the network. Under interrogation, the impostor, whose real name was Daniel, broke down. He was not the mastermind, merely a pawn. He had been recruited by a powerful, ruthless human trafficking and fraud ring operating out of West Africa, with cells in major US cities. They preyed on vulnerable individuals, both those seeking love and those desperate for a new life. Daniel himself had been promised a better life, only to find himself trapped in a web of coercion and fear. He confirmed that he had been ordered to marry Sarah, to secure his green card, and then to disappear, but he swore he did not kill her. He claimed he was told she had left, that the boss had handled it. The true killer, the true architect of Sarah's demise, was still at large, a shadowy figure pulling the strings from the depths of Atlanta's criminal underworld. Detective Thorne and Miller piecing together Daniel's testimony with Sarah's research. They realized Sarah had stumbled onto something far bigger than a simple scam. Daniel's testimony opened up a terrifying new dimension to the case. Sarah had not just discovered she was married to an impostor, she had inadvertently stumbled upon a vast, interconnected criminal enterprise. The boss Daniel spoke of was clearly the architect of this deception, and likely Sarah's killer. The question now was, who was this elusive figure? Thorne reviewed Sarah's last few searches on the online forum. He finds a private message exchange between Sarah and another user. Silent witness. The messages are cryptic, hinting at a local connection. The Thorne returned to Sarah's laptop, specifically her activity on the online forum. In her final days, Sarah had been exchanging private messages with a user named Silent Witness. The messages were cryptic, hinting at a local connection to the scam, someone within Atlanta who was facilitating the operations. Silent Witness had warned Sarah to be careful, that the network had eyes everywhere. Sarah's typed message on screen, "I think I know who is behind this here. It is someone close. Someone I know." Silent Witness typed message on screen, "Be careful. They are ruthless. Do not confront them. Gather evidence." Sarah's typed message on screen, "I am scared, but I cannot let them get away with this." Thorne traced the IP address of Silent Witness. It leads to a local community center, a place Sarah frequented. Tracing Silent Witness led Thorne to a surprising location, a community center in Sarah's own neighborhood, a place she often visited for local events and meetings. The IP address belonged to the center's public computer. This meant Silent Witness was someone local, someone who had access to that computer. Thorne and Miller at the community center. They interviewed the staff, asking about anyone who spent a lot of time on the public computers, anyone who seemed unusually interested in Sarah's life. They interviewed the staff, showing them photos of Sarah, asking about anyone she might have interacted with, anyone who seemed out of place. The center director, a kind elderly woman named Ms. Evelyn remembered Sarah well. She also remembered a quiet, unassuming man who often volunteered at the center, helping with computer literacy classes. His name was Mr. Henderson. Ms. Evelyn, Mr. Henderson. He is such a gentle soul, always helping out. He spends a lot of time on those computers, helping people with their resumes, things like that. Detective Thorne, did he ever talk to Sarah? Ms. Evelyn, oh yes. They were friendly. He helped her once with a technical issue on her laptop, I think. Thorne's face, a dawning realization. He remembers the colleague saying Sarah was looking at legal documents on her laptop. Mr. Henderson, a computer literacy volunteer helping her. The pieces clicked into place. Mr. Henderson, the quiet, unassuming computer literacy volunteer. He had helped Sarah with her laptop. He would have seen her research, her growing suspicions. And he had access to the community center's public computer, the source of silent witnesses, messages. Could he be the boss? It seemed impossible. He was so mild-mannered, so respected in the community. Flashback to a subtle moment, Mr. Henderson looked at Sarah's laptop screen over her shoulder, a flicker of something unreadable in his eyes. He quickly smiles, offers a helpful suggestion. Thorne ordered a background check on Mr. Henderson. The results were shocking. Mr. Henderson was an alias. His real name was Elias Thorne, no relation, a former white-collar criminal with a history of sophisticated fraud and identity theft, who had seemingly vanished years ago after serving a short prison sentence. He had reinvented himself, hiding in plain sight, building a new criminal empire under the guise of community service. He was the boss. He was the one who had orchestrated Daniel's entry into Sarah's life. And he was the one who had silenced Sarah when she got too close to the truth. Detective Thorne and Miller approaching Mr. Henderson's Elias Thorne's modest home. The exterior is well kept, belying the darkness within. Sound of tense, dramatic music. The revelation of Elias Thorne's true identity sent a chill through the police department. The quiet, benevolent community volunteer, the man who taught computer literacy to seniors, was a ruthless criminal mastermind. He was the spider at the center of a vast web of deceit, and Sarah Jenkins had become entangled in it. Thorne and Miller enter the home. Elias Thorne is sitting calmly in his living room, reading a book. He looks up, his expression unreadable. They found Elias Thorne at his home, sitting in his living room, calmly reading a book. He showed no surprise, no panic, only a faint, almost imperceptible smirk as Thorne introduced himself. Detective Thorne, Elias Thorne, we know who you are, and we know what you did to Sarah Jenkins. Elias Thorne's calmly closing his book. Sarah, a bright young woman. A shame what happened to her. The river can be so unforgiving. Detective Miller, you are the one who is unforgiving. You used her. You killed her. Elias Thorne, I merely facilitated a transaction. Sarah was becoming a liability. She was asking too many questions. She was going to expose everything. Flashback to Elias Thorne confronting Sarah. He is calm, menacing. Sarah is terrified, but defiant. He grabs her, silencing her struggles. Elias Thorne confessed, his voice devoid of emotion. Sarah had indeed discovered his true identity, his network, his operations. She had confronted him, threatening to expose him. He could not allow that. He had lured her to a secluded spot by the Chattahoochee, under the pretense of discussing a solution. There, he had silenced her, pushing her into the river, believing the currents would carry her away, erasing all traces. He had then continued the ATM withdrawals, a cruel mockery, a way to maintain the illusion that Daniel was still active locally, a red herring for the authorities. Elias Thorne being led away in handcuffs. The community watches, stunned as their beloved Mr. Henderson is revealed as a monster. The arrest of Elias Thorne sent shockwaves through the community. The man they had trusted, the man who had offered guidance and support, was a cold-blooded killer and a master manipulator. The betrayal cut deeper than the initial shock of Sarah's death. It was a reminder that evil could wear the most unassuming of faces, that danger could lurk in the most familiar of places. Keisha and Jamal at Sarah's grave. Keisha places flowers. Jamal looks up at the sky, a quiet strength in his eyes. For Jamal, the truth was a heavy burden. His mother was gone. And the man he had briefly called a stepfather was an impostor, part of a horrific scheme. And the real killer was someone his mother had known and trusted. But with the truth came a painful clarity. He understood now the depths of his mother's love, her courage in seeking justice, even in her final moments. Keisha, with the support of the community, vowed to raise Jamal, ensuring Sarah's memory lived on, not as a victim, but as a woman who fought for the truth. Detective Thorne looking out over the Chattahoochee River. The river, once a symbol of mystery, now represents the complex layers of human deception and resilience. The Chattahoochee River, which had once held Sarah's secret, now flowed with the painful truth. The case of Sarah Jenkins was a stark reminder of the hidden dangers of the digital age, the fragility of trust, and the insidious nature of those who prey on the hopes and dreams of others. But it was also a testament to the unwavering dedication of those who seek justice, and the enduring strength of a community united in grief and determination. The story of Sarah Jenkins is a heartbreaking one, a narrative woven with threads of hope, betrayal, and ultimately, a chilling revelation. It serves as a powerful reminder that the search for love and connection in the online world, while often rewarding, also carries inherent risks. Lessons learned. Verify, verify, verify. In the digital age, it is crucial to independently verify the identity and background of individuals you meet online, especially those from other countries. A simple video call, cross-referencing information, or even engaging a reputable third-party verification service can make a significant difference. Trust your gut, Sarah, a cautious woman. Eventually let her guard down. If something feels too good to be true, or if there are inconsistencies in a person's story, listen to that inner voice. Do not dismiss red flags, no matter how small they seem. Beware of isolation tactics. Criminals often try to isolate their victims from friends and family who might raise concerns. Be wary if a new partner discourages you from spending time with your support system or tries to control your interactions. Understand the green card process. The promise of a green card is a common lure in these scams. Educate yourself on legitimate immigration processes. No genuine relationship should involve coercion or pressure related to immigration status. The face of evil can be deceptive. Elias Thorne, the mastermind, was a respected figure in his community. This case underscores that criminals do not always fit a stereotype. They can be charming, intelligent, and seemingly benevolent. The power of community. Despite the tragedy, the community rallied around Jamal and Keisha. In times of crisis, leaning on your trusted network of friends and family is paramount.